Welcome to another episode of Girls Know Nothing. I can't believe it's episode 3 already, and I have Paige as my third guest, straight out of the Love Island villa, I think. And I basically remember the first thing I said to you is how tanned you are compared to me. So I look really pasty already, and it probably doesn't help that I'm wearing white.
No, honestly, stop giving yourself so much hate for the tan. I've been in a villa half naked this whole time, so let's give ourselves some credit.
Yeah, no, that's actually very true. And having been there myself, I definitely don't envy you. Because I just remember how hot the furniture was and how much, how uncomfortable you sat half the time.
No, but how hot is it when you're trying to have dinner in 30-degree heat in that garden? Sweating.
Did you not have cover in yours?
Just the kitchen. Just that bit of kitchen with no aircon. And wasn't a vibe.
Okay, mine was definitely a lot cooler than that.
Oh.
Sorry to break it to you.
Wow.
I obviously will talk to you about Love Island during the episode, but I don't, I know what it's like to have everyone talk about Love Island all of the time.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about you and, who you are as a person because, actually I think you were one of my favourite Islanders from the beginning just because I know that you had so much about you before going into the show.
Oh.
And I think it's super important to have that because when you look at role models leaving Love Island, if that's all they have about them, then for me personally, I just don't really like it. So I love that you had something else before and a career beforehand. So I want to talk mostly about that. So obviously you are you were a paramedic or hopefully will be again. Talk me through the thought process of you wanting to become a paramedic. What was it that made you want to do that? And then talk me through university and things like that.
Oh my gosh. So do you know what it is? I went through all of college, all of school, not ever really knowing what I actually wanted to be. And then it came to the last week of college and my lecturer was like, Paige, you need to apply to university. And I was like, for what? I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I honestly could sit there and be like, I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. All I knew was that I'm not a Monday to Friday girl. I like to be a little bit all over the place, but I wanted to do something that I knew I'd be proud to say that I was doing. If someone was ever to ask me my job, I'd be like, yeah, this is what I do. And I wanted to be proud. So I was having a little think and it just so happened that my brother had come home the week before I was applying. He had a little moped and I know that he came off and he scraped all his arm and he was the biggest baby ever and he hates the sight of blood. So does my mum and the rest of my family. So he comes in the house he's literally going really, really grey, about to pass out from the sight of blood. His arm was a bit messed up, I'm not gonna lie. And he literally just came to me and mum and dad were like, Paige, come and sort him out. It was just the natural person that they all come to with anything like that. And it was just in that moment, I was just handled it so well. I was I kept him calm, brought him back down to earth, kept my mum also calm because she was freaking out. And it just came kind of natural to step in and help someone. And even though it was only my brother, it just kind of worked out that way. And I thought, whilst I was applying, I was do you know what? Maybe that's something I could go into. And I honestly landed on my feet. So I applied to Swansea Uni. I got in first time, which is really, really hard to do because so many people have to apply year on year on year. I got through all the interview courses. And then honestly, the actual university course, it was just something that clicked for me. And I just the exams, the essays, I kind of just went with it all. And it just went really good for me. So yeah.
That's actually really interesting you say that because a lot of people I speak to, so I used to do CV workshops for a lot of people and they never know what they want to do, just like you. But then I think it takes until you're much older than you are to know, to find that thing that clicks for you. So it's amazing that you managed to find that so quickly and get into Swansea first time.
I know, honestly, that was the biggest, because Swansea University, so Swansea's where I live and it's the only university in Wales that actually does the paramedic course. Otherwise you have to go to England to do it.
Okay.
So it just worked out. It's God had a plan for me all along and he was like, let's get this girl into Swansea Uni for some paramedic course. I was like, yes, thank you, please.
Yeah, I didn't know that Swansea University was the only place that took the paramedic course or gave that out. And actually, I do think it takes a type of person to become a paramedic. Actually, this is the first time I've met you and you can tell already you're a very chatty, very calming person. And I feel these qualities are not something you you have to have them naturally. You can't really develop them.
No, you can't develop. Like, so imagine being in an absolute chaotic scenario. Like, say a bus was crashed and there's loads of casualties and fatalities. Like, you need to have like somebody in the middle, like to be the calm of it all and to, like direct it all and stuff like that. And I am honestly, sometimes maybe I'm too laid back for my own good, but yeah, I've always been that way, just super chill with everything, just able like chat and talk my way out of anything. And I think that helps all like the patients I go to, because if I can put them at ease, like they're going to be way more open to tell me what's actually going on, that was actually like hurting or upsetting them. Because don't forget as well, a lot of the jobs we go to as 999 is a lot to do with mental health jobs.
Yeah.
So if somebody isn't going to feel comfortable talking to you and opening up, then you're never going to be able to help them and get to the bottom of it. So that's definitely where I get my chatting from.
So just going off of that, like what would you say has probably been the most difficult job you've ever gone to or had to be part of?
So do you know what? That's actually really interesting you asked that question, because a lot of people will ask paramedics, what's the worst job you've ever been to? Obviously, we see a lot of nasty, gruesome stuff that a lot of people would probably not even ever think of or anything. And as paramedics, I can probably speak for a lot of them, these nasty jobs we probably keep in a box and we don't talk about, because we'll deal with it in the moment of time. And for me personally, I don't like to think about any of the bad stuff I've been to, because I would rather look at my job and be like, oh my gosh, how good was that day? How good of a job was that? And I would rather look at the positives and all the exciting things and the bits I helped in, rather than be like, oh, the worst thing I ever saw was. Because if I sat here and told you the worst thing I ever saw, it's going to kill the whole mood. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely.
And I think that's a big opener as well for like just people in general. When a paramedic says to you, yeah, I'm a paramedic, and it's always the first question people go to. And yeah, we always tend to be like, yeah, we'll focus on the good ones. This is the best job I've been to. And we put a positive spin on it instead, you know?
Yeah, so what is the best job you've been to then?
The best job. Okay, so the best jobs, for me, it's the little things, right? I got a huge soft spot for elderly, okay? So there was this one little old lady, bless her. We're going to call her Doris, with patient confidentiality. It's Doris for now. So I'd been to Doris a couple of weeks before. I went for her husband. And sadly, he had like passed away not long after I'd been there. And then I went back to that same address and she recognized me. And she just thanked me loads. And she's like, thank you for taking that time with my husband when you brought him home. And she was the sweetest little old lady, and she had like no family or anything like that. And it was just a moment, like it was one of those times where an elderly person called an ambulance for being lonely and not really knowing where else to turn to. And it just like touched me inside, because I'd obviously met her before in different circumstances. And I kind of just spent the morning with her, helped to we gave her a wash and blow dry. We did a bit of breakfast for her. We just took and sat some time together, and I just gave that bit of comfort. And honestly, it's the little things like that for me in my job, which generally gives me huge satisfaction, because it's such a big problem in the world is aging and loneliness in the elderly. Honestly, biggest soft spot for it. So anytime I can help out with that, I do.
That's something they probably don't teach you at university, right? That this is what your job will actually be like, as opposed to this is how you treat somebody.
Yeah. Oh my God, for sure. So I think people think being a paramedic, you're going to go to all these road accidents, you're going to go to all these massive injuries, all this trauma, all these really severe life-threatening things all of the time. And when I say that is not the case, that's probably about what, 8% of the calls that we actually go to, a lot of it is just being caring and being that person that people can confide in and, really look to for support. It's not always the big juicy stuff that everyone seems to think paramedicing is. It's a lot more to it than that.
Do you know, that's actually a really nice thing to hear, that, and to hear how passionate you are about being a paramedic, because sometimes I think, I've come across people in my time as a public servant that people just do their job to go through the motions and actually don't love what they do. And I think especially being a paramedic or working in emergency services, if you don't enjoy what you do,
yeah,
it will be the longest, I don't even know how long your shifts are, but 12-hour shifts ever.
Yeah, it is. 12-hour shifts. Can you imagine waking up at 4 a.m. in the mornings, hating your job and being there for full 12 hours and doing that 4 days in a row or whatever? It's just, you couldn't do it. I'm to the point where I genuinely love my job. I love what I do that much. I'm such a people's person that I've also got a second job being a medical cover, but we just do it on so in Swans we have Wine Street, it's bars and nightclubs, and I'll just give medical cover down there, just just love being out and about doing my thing.
Very sociable person then. But obviously, like being a paramedic, but you are also a woman, also a very beautiful woman. Do you ever find that it's very difficult to be a woman as a paramedic? You know, I've been out on the beat with female police officers, and the amount of times I've heard men come up to them and say, "You're far too pretty to be a police officer." Like, what's that like? Like, what's it like to be a female paramedic?
Do you know what? It has its pros and cons. Like when it comes to the heavy lifting, the male colleagues will always offer to go in the back of the carry chair, you know, all the chivalrous, is that the word?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. They'll always offer to do them bits. So that bit's nice. I'm not about that. Like I'm all about that life. But also when you do go to like some patients' houses, like especially if I'm working with a male colleague, it's almost like they'd speak to the male colleague first rather than speaking to me, because it's almost like, I think it comes with a bit of a stereotype that a paramedic job was initially very male-dominated career. And so especially like some of the more elderly patients, they will always look to the man to speak to first when I'm working. And I'll be like, actually, babe, it's me. I'm going to be the one you're chatting to today. But I get it, you know, it's just the way you go about it. You do get some of the ones, especially like drunken guys, where you have to go to like scenes and you walk in as paramedic and they're all like, oh, it's that chat up line. You know the chat up line? Oh, I'll have some mouth to mouth. And it's like, babe, come on.
God.
Come on. I need mouth to mouth after that. Like, I feel sick that you just said that out loud. Like,
definitely not paid enough to deal with that kind of content. Thank you. It's also very original, you know?
Yeah, literally. Or it'll be like, what's your number? So now I just go, you've already got it. And they'll be like, what? But it's 999. Just dial my name, babe.
Call 999 and specifically ask for Paige. You do come across as a very happy person, and like, you know, you radiate very good energy, but does it ever really just frustrate you that you feel like you're being treated different? Because you are young as well. Yeah. So you have all of these extra things to deal with on top of being a woman.
That is exactly it. So not only do I get frustrated sometimes because it is, but she's a girl, like, is she going to manage, or how is she going to cope? Like, for some reason, they all just think I'm super, super emotional. I'm not going to be able to deal with these things. I tell people I'm a paramedic. And like, even just in passing, but you're a paramedic, and they look surprised. I'm like, why is that surprising that I'm a girl and I'm a paramedic? And the other one is, but do you drive the ambulance? I'm like, well, yeah, it's my job. And that then they're mind blown. They're like, oh my God, little old you driving an ambulance. They just can't fathom it. And I'm like, why? Why can't you get that into your head? Like, I'm a girl, I'm young, and I can do it. Like, why is this a thing?
It's like that stereotype about female drivers though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what they're really going for. And it's just like, well, actually, we have the least amount of accidents. Mm-hmm. So that says it all, to be honest. And I know you said you try not to focus on like the bad aspects of your job. Obviously, it's kind of the elephant in the room about what it was like to be a paramedic during the pandemic.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I don't actually know how long into your career you were when that kind of happened or started. Yeah,
so literally I qualified as a paramedic in like June or July, and then COVID fully came into like the UK by like October, November.
Okay.
And so that is all I've known as my career basically is COVID. And it's actually really funny because I went to the first ever cardiac arrest in Swansea whilst we had COVID measurements in place. So this was when we had to wear the big white boiler suits, you know, the hood with the filtered oxygen masks and everything else. And that, I think that was really, really hard for me and all my colleagues when it comes to resuscitation. Like, time is everything. Like, you need to be quick on that chest, and you need to be quick with that defib, like shocks and all that. Like, you have got to be so on the ball with it. And then to take that time off to put the suits on first, knowing that every second you're off the chest, like, you know, it decreases chances of resuscitation. Like, that is really, really hard. And that bit was so frustrating at the beginning that you just want to dive in. Like, you just want to get in. I don't want to faff around with the suit. I don't want to faff around with the helmet. Like, just put me in that situation. And I know our health also comes first, because we can't help people if we're not safe ourselves.
Yeah, of course.
And that's a big thing for like WAS. WAS, we're really good on making sure like we were looked after as well. But at the same time, it was almost like you were going against your natural instinct, like to get in there. So that was really difficult. And also, you know, wearing a mask, I think for some people, they felt like they couldn't relate or open up and talk to you because it was almost like there was a barrier between yourself and the patient. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the whole COVID thing. It just felt like you weren't able to completely do your job to the best potential that you absolutely could, you know? So I'm glad it's relaxed a bit now. I hope it's still the same when I go back.
That's the thing as well. I think, you know, when you're saying it takes away that human aspect of your job, which is obviously, you know, if people are phoning in for loneliness, and I know during COVID, like mental health calls to 999 were ridiculously high. And if you can't have that human aspect, it must have made your job really, really tough and then had larger impacts on you.
Yeah, absolutely. It had larger impacts on us. It had larger impacts on the people we were actually seeing. And it just wasn't natural. Do you know what I mean? But also COVID wasn't a natural thing. It was a new thing for everybody. So we were all going through it at the same time. But definitely that was all I knew was my career then. Was I had like 2 months of like, oh, COVID, have you heard about COVID? And then it came into full force. And then that was all my career was, like, even to the point, like, so we were also having time off the road then. If you had anyone in your ambulance, you had to do like COVID cleans and stuff, especially if they had any symptoms. So then you have to take yourself off the road. That means you can't get a job and to clean the ambulance. And then all that time, you're cleaning it every single time after a patient. You can hear the radios going off, calling out for red call. So red call is like life-threatening, like usually cardiac arrest or something like that in the community, and you're hearing that going off, and you know you can't go because you're stuck cleaning an ambulance for COVID reasons. So like, even it just has such a huge knock-on effect, and it was really getting a lot of the staff down. Like, I know a lot of the staff had their own mental health problems then because the job was so much harder, so much more intense, and a lot of people were like sick with it, because obviously then people were scared of calling an ambulance because they didn't want to be They thought obviously we were carrying COVID. They were being a burden. They didn't want to go to hospital because of COVID. So then it went through a phase where people would only call if they were really, really, really sick, which obviously is when you should only call 999, is when you're really, really needing it. But it was like people were leaving it too late, and, you know, they should have been calling way earlier than what they were. And it was just sometimes a little bit too late, you know? Yeah. So it was intense, especially like first coming out. But,
you know, you touched a little bit on mental health of your colleagues. How did being a paramedic during the pandemic impact your mental health, and like what did that do to like family life and your home life for you?
Do you know, for me, because it was all I kind of knew as my career, it was almost a normal for me. And because all like my family and stuff were like off work because of, you know, the whole COVID thing, like only essential workers were still going in and stuff, I kind of just stepped up and was like, well, there's nothing for me to do at home, so I might as well just basically live and work. So I kind of went down the route of like, right, I'll throw myself in, I'll do as much overtime as I can. So I was like picking up all the extra shifts wherever I could, just because I knew like a lot of staff were going off stress and stuff. And also like, with that, like staff were also scared for their own families. Like I was like worried about going home to like my mum and dad, or like even if I didn't go and see my nan, I was worried that if I went home to my mum and dad, and maybe because I'm young I might not have had symptoms, and they would have carried it on, and that would have gone to my nans. Like I've got like poorly grandparents too, so I was just like, it was on my mind. So when everyone finishes work, usually it's like, right, quick cuppa, go home. But everyone was down like showering, like taking an extra hour in work, showering, like wasn't even wearing their uniform in the cars because they didn't want to contaminate. Like it was a crazy time, and it did affect a lot of the staff like negatively. But as WASP was so supportive, and as we call ourselves like the green family, we all support each other, and we're all so good at like being there for each other. It's such a close knit in Swansea, especially that you can talk to any one of the staff members and they're going to put you right, even if you're feeling shit yourself. Yeah, you can put your colleagues right, you know.
Yeah, because I think like not a lot of people know this about like my family. My brother is a nurse.
Oh, is he?
So, and he pretty much only knew the pandemic as well. So I remember him going through that whole process of like washing his uniform in ridiculously high heat, Dettol all over his car, like hot showers in work. And I think that's one thing that I really wanted to talk to you about, like the whole mental health stuff and how people were chipping in and helping each other, because I do feel like people talk about it, but they try to skirt around the subject as opposed to like actually say how it made them feel. And, obviously we really appreciate everything you guys did for us.
Yeah, of course.
I can't even begin to imagine like how it actually feels to be you. And, you were living at home with family?
Yeah, I was living with my mum, my dad, and my 2 younger brothers. And obviously my mum was still like seeing my nan, like, outside of it sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I was just really like worried about that sort of thing. But at the same time, I knew I was taking all the precautions I could in work. So there was like nothing else I could possibly do than to follow all the rules and the guidelines that work were given. And And I just honestly tried to be like, right, that is what it is. But I also didn't want it to affect like home. I didn't want to be constantly stressed about it because it was always everywhere. It was the topic of every conversation. Obviously, I worked with it all the time. I was like, do you know what? I actually just want to go home and like, cut off from it.
Yeah.
So I knew as long as I did what I had to do in work, I could go home and just, right, it is what it is. Please, let's not talk about COVID anymore. Like, it's not a thing in the house. Let's just cut off from it. Do you know what I mean? And then I would have my downtime that way with the fam.
So like, obviously going from mental health as a paramedic, I did say I was going to touch on Love Island.
Yeah,
and there is a lot of conversations about mental health after like, you know, going into a show like Love Island and then coming off a show. How would you say the mental health struggles you've dealt with are different from Love Island to being a paramedic? Like, do you think being a paramedic set you up in the right way to deal with that?
100%. Like, obviously doing what I do as a paramedic, like I have got to learn to be able to cut off my feelings very quick, very easily, and almost like as if like completely detach and like disassociate from those feelings. Like you kind of have to be able to do that in the paramedic job, otherwise you're going to be an emotional wreck the whole time, which you just can't be. So it definitely set me up in the right way. And especially as well, like I've got a bit of thick skin from being a paramedic. Like we meet some characters in the job, you know, that aren't always too friendly. And you do take the abuse and you do take the assaults and things and the name calling and, you know, the family that are upset or annoyed that you didn't get there sooner and you get all the abuse. And you just got to take a step back and be like, do you know what? This isn't personal. They don't know me. They know that I would do anything I possibly could to help anyone. And that's kind of the way I went into Love Island with the mindset of they can say what they want to say. Then they don't actually truly know me, especially like when you come out and you get like trolls or whatever. Like these people don't actually truly know who I am as a person. So like they're entitled to their opinion. That's absolutely fine. Am I going to let it affect me? Absolutely not. Am I even going to pay any attention to it? Absolutely not. I'll just block it out because it doesn't affect my life. I'm still happy. I'm still doing my own thing. And if anything, stuff like that just is more of a reflection of those people that it comes from rather than being a reflection of yourself. Do you know what I mean? And definitely in the villa, like from my job, like I went through a lot in there sometimes and we did see some tears here and there. But 9 times out of 10, I promise you, I was way more happy than I was sad because it would only be in a split. Don't forget, they only show what they want to show. So when you saw them clips of me crying, I promise it wasn't that much. I promise it wasn't that long. And I would usually bounce back within 2 minutes. But yeah, no, it definitely set me up the right way. I am very good at being able to like switch it up. That's done. Moving on. Next.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think one thing that I really wanted to know is like, how come you made that switch from dealing with 999 to going into Love Island? Like, were you scouted or did you apply?
No, so I applied, and honestly, when I'm gonna just be truthful. We'll tell you how it is. Basically, at the beginning of the year, I had a breakup, and I was really annoyed at him. I was like, "What's the most annoying thing I can do to like piss him off just that little bit more?" I was like, it's gonna be if I'm in his face and like he's gonna see me. So I was like, on the off, I'll just apply, just send a little video. I honestly didn't think anything was gonna come of it because if you saw the application video sent in, it was not great. I don't know how I got as far as I did, but you know, we're gonna roll with it. So that was honestly my thought. I was just being the pettiest person ever because I was just in a little bit of a shit place. Yeah. And then obviously the ball started rolling. I was like, oh, actually, do you know what? This is crazy. And then I'd already passed all that petty stuff. I was back into like being a gym girl. I was like eating healthy. I was like doing my own thing. I was working. It was going great. And then it just kept spiraling. And before you know it, they were like, oh, can you come up and do a press day? And we want you to be in the starting lineup. And I was like, oh, shit, this is actually real. Like, this is actually going to be a thing because I haven't even told work yet that I'm going to do this. Oh. So, yeah, it's like, okay.
Do you know what, though? I'm here for the pettiness because, you know, if you're in a bad breakup, then you might as well not turn on your TV without seeing me. Every time you turn on the radio, every time you go on the internet, every time you go on social media, you might as well see my name. So actually, no, I'm really here for it. But, you know, you said you didn't tell work. No. What were they like when you told them you were going to go into the show?
So when I did tell them, because obviously I needed time off to go in, my manager was so supportive and she 100% backed me every step of the way. But the only thing was I tried always to be able to keep my job and do Love Island at the same time. Obviously, Love Island is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of opportunity thing. Well, unless you're Adam Carlisle, you get to do it twice. But we're not all him.
Adam, I want tips on how you managed to do that, by the way. So let me know.
He's not doing it a third time, let me tell you. So I was just like, look, sort to my manager, I was like, massive opportunity. I was like, what we saying? Like, is there any way I can do it? I tried taking all my annual leave. I tried taking unpaid leave. I tried taking a career break. I tried every single avenue possible to be able to keep my job as well as do Love Island. But unfortunately, because paramedics and the ambulance service and NHS in general get such bad like backlash and press about waiting times and not understaffed and all of this, I think from a management perspective where I am, they were like, oh, yes, we want to fully support you, but I think it's not confirmed, but I think they couldn't risk me going in, not knowing me as a person, obviously higher up. They don't know who I was as an individual employee. I think they were worried that if maybe I went in and then it's like, oh, well, the NHS is struggling this much and paramedics are struggling this much, and you've let one take all this time off to go in Love Island, it might have created more bad press and bad backlash that they just didn't need, which I totally understand. So unfortunately, the only option I had was to resign from my job, which I was absolutely devastated about. Like, I've got it on Snapchat, like a video of me like crying, like, I'm gonna have to resign from my job to do Love Island. Like, what if I'm just in there for a week and I've had to quit my job? Like, all this. But do you know what? I'm glad I did it because it was in the terms that when I come out, as long as like, you know, everything's gone okay, that I can go back to it and have a conversation about getting my job back as a bank paramedic, which would work great for me anyway, because basically being on bank contract would mean that I can pick and choose when I work my shifts and what would work for me, especially coming out. Obviously, everyone knows, nobody's stupid. Everyone comes out and has other opportunities off the back of Love Island. Let's just say it how it is. But I still don't want to lose that element of working as a paramedic because it's still so important to me. So having a bank contract means I can have literally the best of both worlds. Still do what I love, still keep doing paramedic and stuff, keep up my skills, still see all my Doris's and my gyms, and then like still like, you know, have a cheeky pick here and there in London, do you know?
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that they were worried about like bringing the NHS into disrepute. And it'd be really interesting, I think neither of us would have the answer to this, but it'd be really interesting to know whether Dr. Alex was put in the same position.
Yeah.
For because he was an A&E doctor when he went into the show, and obviously when he returned from the villa, he went back into A&E like hospitals. So it'd be really interesting to know that if he was also told the same information or whether it was just you. But you know, you were talking about managements being worried about potentially bringing the NHS and the paramedic service into disrepute. When you were in the villa, were you very conscious? Because I know I was, like, I potentially wanted to go back to the civil service, and I was very conscious about what I said, how I behaved, how I came across, and that's probably why I came across as boring, because I was so overly paranoid about it. Did you feel like the same way?
Do you know, at the beginning, so I think looking at the episodes now, like even looking at me in the beginning of the series, I feel like I was very like in a little bit of a shell. I was a bit more quiet, a bit like, oh, let me find my groundings first. Let me find my feet. And then like I definitely got into the swing of things as time went on. So I think it came with, I didn't do anything like that I wouldn't have done anyway. Obviously, it was on my mind to be always respectful anyway. It's just the kind of person I am. I wouldn't want to be anything else anyway. When it came to like talking about my job or anything like that, I did always keep it very brief. So I think when people are like, what do you do? I'd be like, oh, I'm a paramedic. And then they would also ask all the questions. I'd be like, yeah, I don't really want to talk about it anymore because I don't know what's going to get shown. Do you know what I mean? Course. So I was conscious of just talking about my job in there. But in terms of how I acted, I think there were some times where I probably could have kicked off a little bit more, or had a bit more of like a backbone about some things, or had a few more comments here and there. But honestly, I'm not really that person anyway. Like I said, I'm too laid back. I really couldn't care less for all the like petty drama. Like I said, I do paramedicing for a living. So like I know what real life drama actually is and what petty drama is. And if you think I'm about to lose my mind over a little comment here and there, like it's really not going to be a thing. And I'm sorry if that like comes across as boring, or, you know, people will be like, oh, she's playing the nice girl, but she's not really. Like, it's not a thing. Like, I just don't care about petty stuff to like have commented on it a bit more. Do you know what I mean?
No, I definitely agree. And I think one thing as well is that people that don't understand when they're watching it, they're constantly saying they want more Paiges to be in the show, like people with careers. And then they're like, well, they're not giving us all the drama. And it's like, well, you know, you kind of have to balance real life Paige and Love Island Paige and like work out what is more important to you, because there are people that will quit their jobs and not want to go back to it. So they have to put as much effort into Love Island as physically possible.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, you said that being a paramedic is like not just a job for you, it's like a passion.
Yeah, I actually like love my job. So yeah.
But do you ever get worried about people saying, like making comments about, well, I mean, it might not be something that you've experienced yet, but I'd be really interested to know. So like when I talk about politics on TikTok, people are like, shut up because you're a girl in a bikini. Have you experienced that already, even though it's been like a couple of weeks?
Do you know, thankfully I haven't, but I think that's partly my own doing, because when I say I literally like live in a bubble right now, I don't look at, like I try to avoid my comments to a certain degree, because I don't want to read the negative stuff and I don't want to read bitchy comments because I don't need to. So I try, and I haven't really posted anything either. Like I'm so bad on my socials that I've literally not posted for anyone to even have anywhere to comment on. So I've not yet experienced that, but I'm sure there will be some people that will have things to say, but we're going to rise above it.
What would you say to people that would automatically assume because you've gone on Love Island, you are just a girl in a bikini?
I'll be like, well, that's obviously not true. I literally have pictures of me in paramedic outfits before I went into Love Island. So I'm not just a girl in a bikini. We're a girl in a paramedic outfit too.
You can talk to my 30 grand certificate that says I've got my degree. No, I really like admire that like take that you have on it, because I know sometimes it can really bring you down, especially when you know that what people are saying isn't true.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to have that positive mindset. And I guess, you know, Adam, your boyfriend.
I got a boyfriend.
has already been through that process. So do you feel like maybe he's kind of helped you stay on the like better side of it, like stay away from comments and things?
Oh, honestly, Adam has been so great coming out of all this. Like he's been like, honestly, he's literally just taken me under his wing, like held my hand for it all, bless him. But he will literally be like, oh, have you seen this? And I'll be like, no. And like, he's got to the point now where he doesn't even bother being like, Paige, have you seen what's being said? Or have you seen this article? Because he knows that I actually haven't. So there's like generally no point bringing it up to me because I will not have a clue what's being said. And we've also said as well, like, so at first we came out, there was like an article that was apparently Adam was like, oh, Adam Collard wants to go reconnect with his ex or something. And he was like,
one of those ones.
Yeah. And he was like, Paige, you know, this isn't true. And I was like, Adam, if I saw it, I wouldn't have even bat an eyelid because I know how all this works. I know what we are saying, what we've got going on. And I'm not about to let anything on the outside or people that have no like thing in our relationship have any say on it and what I'm going to do and say towards you. Do you know what I mean? So I can see all these articles, fine. Is it going to be an issue between me and you? No, because respectfully, it's nothing to do with any of that on the outside. So yeah, I'm pretty good at blocking it all out. And Adam's been so helpful with everything as well.
I think one of the things that a lot of people I've spoken to, well, people that have left shows like Love Island or single people that have like big social media presence says that they don't want to date someone in the public eye or have a boyfriend that's in the public eye because they're like fangirl around them. Does that like make you nervous? Like, are you worried about those types of things in your relationship, or because Adam's done it all before, he's kind of like the novelty's worn off?
Oh, do you know what? Like this was actually a conversation like he brought up to me. So I quite struggle sometimes to open up with my feelings and to like tell people like how I really feel or what my real like, when it comes to a guy, like if I have to tell, I can tell the girls or I could tell like my closest friends how I'm feeling. But when it comes to actually telling the guy, I really find it hard. So, and I think Adam's got to the point now, like he reads my body language and he just knows that something's on my mind. And he literally said to me, he's like, are you worried about coming on the outside and it maybe like not working because you think I'm going to be busy or whatever? And I was like, yeah, like how did you know? But it wasn't just that. It was that like, I'm not a very confident person. So like, I know Adam's a very good looking guy. I know that he's already got like fangirls, like left, right and center. And like, who can blame him? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm also an Adam Collard fan. So like, yeah, I really can't blame him. Like, honestly, it's a huge compliment that everyone like kind of fancies him sort of thing. But because I'm not like a hugely confident girl, like, I won't lie, I don't, like I will not compare myself, but I'll put myself down compared to other girls. And then when I do that, I'll be like, well, I'd rather take myself out of the race than lose. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm very much like that. So that is something that I've got to work on myself. But he's been so lush. He's been reassuring me the whole time. And honestly, it's not even his problem. Like it is a me problem that I've just got to find my own confidence, back myself a little bit more. But hopefully that will come in a little bit of time. And then, yeah, that will be, I'm sure it'll be put to bed. But
so why do you think that is? Like, do you think Adam may be feeling the same way? Or do you think it's just because it's a female intuition or something we've just naturally grown into as women to be like that?
Yeah, do you know what? I think a lot of it, actually saying that, the girls that I was just in Love Island with, a lot of these girls had like such good confidence, and I was literally like, I was like in awe of like how much they backed themselves and how confident they were in themselves. And I was like, do you know, I wish I had that bit more about me. I just don't. I'm not really that kind of person. Like, honestly, I hate having my photo taken because I hate stuff like that. And like, people will come up to me and be like, you look so much better in person. And I'll be like, okay, that's a backhanded compliment, but thank you anyway. So it's like little things like that I'll just pick up on. I'll be like, okay, so if I look better in person, then no, I don't want to have my photo taken. No, I'm dreading being on like TV or having like videos taken because I've already been told so many times that I look better in person. Do you know what I mean? So it's like all those like little things, or, you know, it's just me as a person. Like that thing is with me, I know I can back my personality. I can do that bit absolutely fine. But it's the appearance side, the superficial stuff that I struggle with. But
I do think actually that probably does stem down to like being a woman, especially in the public eye, because you're put on blast all the time for your appearance. Like,
yeah.
Like I just said to you, like, I need to put my lipstick on because I can't please everybody.
Yeah.
And I've had that comment, like, you look so much better in person. You look so much better in real life. I remember probably before Christmas last year, I was dating somebody and a boy didn't even speak to me, said to the guy I was with, oh mate, you're so lucky because she looks so much better in person. And
that's just rude.
I've never could you ever imagine a woman turn around to Adam and be like, oh, you look so much better in person? Like, I just don't think it would ever happen.
No, I don't think, no. And girls wouldn't say that to guys either, would they? I don't feel like a girl would ever, because girls know that is rude. It's not a nice thing to say. It's not a nice compliment. So I can't imagine girls actually going up to guys, A, giving compliments anyway, because girls were just not like that. And then B, like being that savage about it. Do you know what I mean?
Do you find that those kinds of comments impact your confidence even more, or do you kind of just brush them off?
No, they do. Like any like comments about appearance for me, like they do take a little bit of a hit, I won't lie, but that's already because it's something that I lack confidence in. So then when I do hear them, I'm just like, yeah, thanks for the reminder. That was great. Thanks. Moving on. And then I'll just like try and avoid that conversation or avoid that person then and be like, right, move on quickly.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. And, you know, I think it's something that naturally will come with time. I think especially now, because you're such in the intense bubble, like you've put it would be a lot harder to deal with now, and because it's on steroids.
Yeah,
but hopefully,
literally.
like, you know, in time it will calm down. And if Adam's being so wonderful, then like hopefully it will help a lot more. But no, I can completely relate and understand to that. So, you know, throughout this episode, we've talked a lot about your journey as a paramedic, your love for the elderly. So, you know, we've seen so many stories already about Islanders from your series coming out and signing all these big deals, which is amazing. But I really want to know, like, what your plans are post Love Island. Okay,
so first things first, we're going to get my job back. That is a meeting on Monday. We're going to get my job back. That will be great. Hopefully, anyway. Pray for Paige. Here
Fingers
we go again.
Crossed, yeah.
Pray for Paige. And then, so what I want to do when I come out, I want it to be meaningful. I want it to be true to myself. And like I said, elderly for me, a huge soft spot, just got too much love from. And you know, like at Christmas time, there's like a campaign, it's like dinner with elderly, like, and loneliness and things like that. I really want to just bridge the gap between youngsters, the elderly, and like try and like stop all this loneliness going on in the world. Because like even youngsters get lonely. Like they can have their phones and social media, but are they truly happy like that? Like, do they actually have human connections and everything else? Because we get so engrossed with the phones. So what I want to do is really bridge the gap between youngsters, elderly, get them together, like little things. Like, can you imagine like how many like people have family and they've had to move away, but they know they've left their mums or nans or granddads in a country that they're not able to get to by themselves. And these people are lonely and they know that they're lonely. And it could be like, I want it to be a thing where they can reach out, drop a name, obviously get the consent of the family member first and be like, right, what about meeting up and, you know, come around, have a cuppa. I don't know. I'm going to figure out a way to like bridge this gap between youngsters and the elderly. Like, let's decrease loneliness in the world. Like, let's get more human interaction going on, because I think the world has become so phone and social media based now that sometimes you just need a good wake up call and a reality check and be like, chat with this elderly lady, listen to what she has to say. Just understand like life from a different perspective and see like how much more life can have to give than just social media. I don't want to be just another social media person. Do you know what I mean? Like the world has so much more to give, so much more.
I feel like we should get that as a hashtag trending, pray for Paige, for you to get your paramedic job back. I have so much faith that you will. But for me, that's so amazing to hear that you want to do something different and something new, because I don't actually feel like we've had ever in all of the 8 series an Islander that's so passionate about working with elderly.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, especially, you know, your experience of being a paramedic during the pandemic, you've seen loneliness so much firsthand. Yeah. And I honestly can't wait to see like what you can do with that and what charities slide into the DMs and try and get you on board with their work. And, you know, we've had conversations briefly about ones already. So 100%. I'm really excited to see what you do with that. But I have started to ask every guest the same question as like the final question.
Okay.
And I also am really interested to hear your answer. So the final question is, what would you say to those people that doubt your current success or your future success based on the fact that you're a woman?
Baby, you do you and let me do me, boo. We'll see who comes up on top. We'll see who comes up on top.
No, that's short and sweet, and I love it. And honestly, I think that, you know, you have a lot going for yourself and just a huge testament to like what you do in the NHS. So I don't doubt that. But thank you very much for being my 3rd guest, and I'm so happy to have had you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've had the best time, honestly. Thank you.
No worries.